in our Fire Academy curriculum, we have them building up to doing a yoga class on air. And it's wonderful to see. We start them with blast mask first, and then eventually going on air. And it's really interesting to see how their approach to their breath changes.
Oh yeah.
With that, and you can hear it. And by the end of the academy with us, they really are making use of air management really well.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do a separate message about this, because I know there's been a lot of photos and videos of our recruits doing that. And I want to make sure that, obviously when people go through our training, they know why. There's the why again, why we're doing it, and and how we're doing it is very strategic, very tactical, so it's safe and effective. So a message I want to put out there is, even though this is a valuable tool that I'm using and you're personally using in your workout, for any yoga teacher watching this who's not been trained by us yet, if you have an opportunity to go into a fire station before you work with us or get trained with us, don't just throw them on air and in bunker gear. There's a real strategy for this, for safety and effectiveness. And so start little by little, and also get trained properly in why it's happening. So that's my little side note with that, just as a sort of a safety thing to say. But, beyond that, training that way really does. And that's that crossover with job specificity and, dare I say, life-saving, to make your air supply last longer.
Right. And what I was going to say is, like, if we can teach firefighters, training is not supposed to be comfortable, right? So
thank you.
if we can teach firefighters to build that mental resiliency while they're doing uncomfortable training, whether it's yoga, whether it's dragging a tire, whatever it is, right? If we can teach them mentally to build that resiliency through that, and to have proper breath work while they're doing a certain pose that's very uncomfortable for them. Again, it comes back to what you said, that transferability, that job specificity of, if we can do it here, once we get on the fire ground and we're geared up in 70 pounds of gear, and our mobility is restricted by 50%, and we're super hot, we're super uncomfortable, hopefully what we train for here will transfer over here, right? And so it comes back to, it's not only for like your muscles, training isn't just for your muscles or your cardio and all that stuff. It's also for your mind, right? Yeah. So building that uncomfortability and being able to deal with that, and then transferring it over to another uncomfortable situation that we're not always in. Because firefighters, I mean, if you look at the statistics, 1% of a firefighter's time is spent actually fighting fires and working fires, right? Based on call volume and all that stuff. So we need to make sure that we're training for that 1%, right? And that can be really difficult to do, but again, it goes back to what you said, making sure that whatever we're doing over here is going to transfer over to here.
A lot of people, speaking of stress, when we don't even, in the wellness conversation, which yoga can be, moved into the wellness or mental wellness, a lot of people are talking about post-traumatic stress or critical incidents or bad calls. That's one aspect, but we're also talking about the cumulative stress of day in, day out stressors, internal pressure with leadership, or living with a family 1/3 of your life, basically. So you don't have to experience a bad call to experience cumulative stress that gets stored in the tissues in the mind, and I think a lot of people understand what you're saying with job application. And then when it comes to yoga, they say, and then there's yoga, like it's an adjunct thing, not realizing that it's still the same concepts you just talked about transferability, job application, mindset, yoga's mental training. It really is. The mind and body are connected. And so you train, we call it bottom up and top down. You train the body to access the mind. And we also work with the breath and mental training to then release the tissues of the body, because they work together, So I think that's my job of it, is to then, even with your Big 8 is to let your audience know through our videos that, hi, we're the flexibility part, but it's not like we're not talking about what Jim's talking about anymore.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like now you change the channel to something else.
Right.
It's the same conversation, just a different modality, basically.
Right.
So I think the last thing I want to ask you is, a lot of our teachers, we train teachers who are in fire service who actually don't have a background in yoga, and we train them to bring in these principles. But then we also have a lot of teachers, like how I started, a civilian wanting to teach fire service. So this conversation we're having, the reason your book is on our resource list as well, is I want our teachers to be familiar with the needs and demands of fire service so that we can be better as instructors coming in from the outside, knowledgeable, culturally informed. How can a civilian use your book or one of our teachers to better teach our program?
Right.
I want them to make use of what you have to offer.
Yeah, and a lot of what I'm about to say is in the introduction chapter of our book, because we also kind of wrote it for people who want to become firefighters and kind of to know what they're getting into.
And I have a lot of highlights too there, so you're right. That's
Awesome,
where a lot of the crossover is. So
yeah, and that's the thing is, like, if you're not part of the fire service and you're coming in and you're wanting to teach firefighters, it's just trying to inundate yourself with all of the stressors, as you said, the hazards that firefighters deal with, because it's not just fires. It's not just, this or that. It can be, like you said, it can be stresses from home that they bring into the job. They can be sleep deprivation. It can be call volume. It can be leadership, like you mentioned. And so kind of knowing, and it's not like you can learn all this in 5 minutes, right? But kind of knowing the culture and what being a firefighter is like, and all the different stressors we have to face, and knowing, just like what you said before, the importance of the mindset, of the mentality, and how that affects everything else. We're apart from this conversation, you and I are kind of having a conversation about mind and body. Mm-hmm. And you're coming up and writing an article, and I can't wait to see what you come up with, because I really want to read it. But yeah, just making sure that we're making that connection, and showing firefighters, if it's a new teacher or someone outside of the fire service, just showing them that the importance, and having them grasp of how important it is for their mindset to get right. The importance of building that resiliency, and showing how it's actually going to help them, how it's going to transfer over, not only physically, but emotionally. Because once all those three, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, all these things that are interconnected, and if one's like really off base, it can affect the other three, mm-hmm. really, really poorly. And so just making sure that we're teaching firefighters that it's not just physical. Physical fitness is not just physical, right?
Right.
Right. And so we need to make sure that showing firefighters that everything is related, and the importance and the why behind it, of mm-hmm. why this is so important. So I think that's one thing, is just knowing the stressors that firefighters face, and being able to relate to that, and then speaking to that on a personal level, if an instructor can, maybe drawing from their own background, stressors they face, and then being able to show how yoga is not only for flexibility, like you said, not only for mobility, but for that mental toughness, that mental resiliency that we need to build as firefighters.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's really valuable. And one thing that we encourage our teachers to do, this is based on, you said it's not going to take 5 minutes to learn this stuff. And I've been doing this for years and learned a little bit at a time, went through Fire Academy to learn more, and then again, went through a Citizens Academy to make sure I was still on the up and up, and, mm-hmm. always right. trying to do more and more so I can be more savvy and serve that community and population the best I can. So I encourage my teachers to do the same. It's taken and I'm still learning more and getting better, obviously. So one thing that people might have seen us do on social media is, when I do see you, we kind of teach each other, Yeah. And for the challenge for the 100 reps a day, we participate in that. Some of our team did. And so what I want to encourage teachers, my teachers, to do is to look at what you're teaching and to do it, to try it, to do it, because it is translating to the job just like we do. Another thing is we're going to find, I think, which I've already found, yoga drills that we do that can help the drills in the other sections,
Yeah, exactly.
because they both help each other. And I think the more that our teachers are tuned into that, they'll be able to speak to it and understand that crossover. So that's what I would say.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, that's all I got for you. Is there anything, another brilliant golden nugget you want to say before we sign off?
No more nuggets. I ran out of them all. No,
Okay.
But it's so great to, always get to hang out with you, and it's fun that we get to do it in this kind of medium. So yeah, if anything else, if people want to contact us for any reason, if you can go to firefighterfunctionalfitness.com, we have a contact us little page on that. My email is jimmoss911@gmail.com. And anything, we reach out to anyone who contacts us. We always contact them back. We're just passionate about, like I said before, creating a healthier fire service, one firefighter at a time. Let me know if I can help in any way.
That's great. Thank you. And we do have a freshly trained teacher in St. Louis, as I told you, Jess, and she's been doing some great stuff with some fire departments there. And I think also St. Louis PD, we're going to be doing something with them. So I hope you'll have her in, and maybe I can come and visit and get something going with you guys too.
For sure. That'd be great.
Do this. Thank you for being my first guest on Monday Message. I appreciate it.
Thank you.